With Pullman Hotels, partners of all your travels.
And for that, I'm joined here in the studio by James Creedon. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Marcus. We'll start off with New York, and a French...
The Big Apple, eh?
Indeed, the Big Apple, and a French man who's heading over to New York to play for the New York Red Bulls. It's a big story in France this morning.
Sounds like a movie title, A Frenchman in New York.
A Frenchman in New York. Well, whether or not it would be a good movie, I suppose we'll have to wait and see, because actually L'Équipe, the flagship sports paper here in France, is more or less saying that this is a kind of a quasi-retirement for the player, that he has left his real career behind him, that Laurent Blanc, the new coach of Les Bleus, won't really be bothered calling him up anymore, because this is just a kind of it's not exactly one of the European clubs like Arsenal or Barcelona that he played for before, which made him one of the best strikers in the world. They're also they're saying it's not really going to be the magnificent sporting challenge that he speaks of. If we have a look at Le Parisien, they're also talking about this. They're saying more or less that he's washed up on New York shores. American clubs are the only ones really to be able to pay out big salaries to European players like David Beckham, who plays for the LA Galaxies. He's getting about 6.5 million euros a year for them. Henry was earning about 8 million euros at Barcelona, so he could expect to get something, I suppose, in that ballpark, to use another sporting expression.
I have to say, though, despite all the scepticism, a lot of people are actually saying that the American Soccer League is getting better and better, and perhaps Henry joining could sort of further boost the American Soccer League, so maybe it's not such a bad move after all. Perhaps,
and also I suppose that the US side were performing better in the World Cup than many, I suppose, European skeptics would have expected, so who knows where it'll all go. Now, another sporting legend, perhaps not, but sporting person on the front page of a newspaper, it's Nicolas Anelka. He's the Arsenal player who was famously booted out of the French football team in South Africa for insulting Raymond Domenech. Now, according to France Soir, he is settling his scores on the front page of the paper this morning, or inside the paper even. Actually, the details are a little bit thin on the ground. He's simply saying that if things hadn't exploded with him or surrounding his situation in South Africa, it would have happened with another player. The atmosphere was so bad. He also says that the famous insult, which he said to Domenech, exactly, in the changing room, wasn't as it was reported in L'Équipe. He apparently called him all sorts of things, as reported by L'Équipe. Now, if we move on to Le Parisien, again, they're talking about the FIFA listings. Les Bleus is no longer in the world top 10 football teams. It's not in the top 20 either. It's number 21. Australia is ahead of the French football side, which is somewhat embarrassing.
I think insult to injury, yeah.
Indeed. Egypt, Croatia and Russia are all ahead. And worth pointing out that the French football team was number 9 in the world going into the World Cup. So a bit of a tumble there.
Well, seeing what happened in the World Cup, I suppose the only ones they can blame are themselves.
And Mr. Domenech, maybe. Now, we'll have a look at the front page of Libération. They're talking about the Betancourt family who run L'Oreal, who are the owner of the, I suppose, heirs to the L'Oreal fortune, who are tearing themselves apart in public. There's a massive family feud, one of the biggest in years in France. The details are probably too complicated to go into right now, but suffice it to say that the daughter of the heiress, who is an aging woman called Liliane Betancourt, has taken one of her mother's best friends to court, accusing him of taking advantage of his mother, who is kind of old and frail, and swindling about €1 billion out of her. These are all accusations, none of which have been proved at all. He is defending himself in the media. In fact, he gave a big interview this week to L'Express magazine, saying that all of these claims are absolute conjecture and they're completely false.
And just as a sign of how infected this really is, Liliane Betancourt, she spoke out yesterday saying she didn't understand how someone who lived so close to her for so many years could be basically so evil. She denounced her daughter completely.
Indeed. Yeah. And her daughter is now trying to kind of sideline her from managing the company. And they're saying in the editorial that this is it is a soap opera that is so Frenchy, and that is how they wrote it in the editorial. I love when they use English expressions that don't exist. So Frenchy. In any case, that's that. And we'll move on to just a quick look at L'Humanité, just for the photo really on the front page. They've photoshopped poor old Nicolas Sarkozy, and I can confirm that his nose is actually not that long. And the 10 biggest lies that he's told. It's a communist paper, so they're always very critical.
Yeah.
Now we'll finish with Le Figaro. And is there a booming trade in counterfeit Napoleon hats? That is a question that we are asking this morning. And it's a little bit of basically Napoleon had 12 rotating hats at all times. These big kind of wide hats. And there's a big trade in them. The one that he wore during the Russian war effort went for 600 to 800,000 euros. That's how it was valued by Sotheby's. But lots of hats that were worn in theatre over the years are also being sold for around 3,000 to 4,000 euros. So a big trade in Napoleon's hats.
Extraordinary. I've never heard of that one.
So, you could get yourself one, Marcus, for about 3,000 euros if you want.
I don't think I have the money left over for a Napoleonic hat. Thanks very much, James Cruden, nonetheless, for taking us through the papers. You're watching France 24.
You were watching In the Papers, presented by Pullman Hotels.
And it's time now to bring you up to date with our top stories this morning. The scientists